It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of December 22nd, 2000, of course, Christmas weekend. We got three big new movies to look at here, and we're going to start off with the biggest new release of them all, Tom Hanks reuniting with Forrest Gump director Robert Zemeckis for Castaway. I mean, the trailer pretty much tells you what the plot is right there. You have Tom Hanks as this FedEx troubleshooter. He's about to go back home to Memphis, and his plane eventually gets caught up in the storm. It crashes, and he's basically stranded on this deserted island in the South Pacific. The interesting thing about this movie, this was not shot chronologically. What basically happened was they first shot this back in January of '99, and they shot it back in January. They halted it for 2 months. 2 months after that, and then they resumed shooting that April is the following April in the year 2000. And basically, Hanks had to gain 50 pounds during the pre-production, and for the purpose of making his transformation more dramatic. And then after most of the film was shot, production was paused so he can lose all that weight, grow his hair and beard to look like he had been living on the island for years. And so, during this, Zemeckis basically made What Lies Beneath that came out the previous summer, that summer in 2000, and no joke, Hanks actually nearly died when he suffered an infected cut on his leg. They had to rush him to a local hospital, and he had to stay there for 3 days to go under surgery. Basically, the movie had to be suspended for 3 weeks to allow him to return from the injury, but really think about everything that this guy had to do to make this performance work. And the results speak for itself, man. Castaway is probably one of Tom Hanks' greatest movies. I mean, this is a film that is just so well done, and it works because of Tom Hanks, obviously. He's one of our great actors. Helen Hunt also is great in the movie as well. Robert Zemeckis does a pretty good job of handling the story, and the movie just does a great job of, most of the time, you're just spending it on this island with Tom Hanks, and he has to find a way to keep you invested in what's going on. And lo and behold, he does in this movie. He has to convince you that he's trying to have somebody to talk to with this ball that he finds that he names Wilson, and the fact that he's doing everything in his power to get off this island and head back home. And 4 years pass. I mean, this guy was away for 4 years, and they finally find him. And I think, unfortunately, it basically ends with something that could be seen as kind of a little bit of a cop-out. Like, you see Helen Hunt and Tom Hanks in the beginning, they have a lot of good chemistry, but when he returns, she's already got a family, and honestly, yeah, it sucks that we don't have the happy ending for them, but at the same time, he's been lost for 4 years. I mean, at some point, you gotta have to go, but you kind of have to realize that, yeah, if you've been gone for more than a year, chances are you probably aren't coming back. So some might see it as a cop-out at the end, but at the same time, I know where they're coming from. I see what they're doing here, and I like the way that it does kind of give them a little bit of some closure there. Like, it would have been nice to have the happy ending, but at the same time, he's been away for 4 years, so it's not really surprising that Helen Hunt had to go find somebody else after over a year of waiting to see if this guy was ever coming back to him. And I like that he takes on this journey at the end there. Like, you really don't know where he's going to go at this point. And, it's really interesting how it plays out here. It's a really good film. It's a really engaging film. It really does deliver everything that it promises. It's one of Tom Hanks' best movies. It's one of Robert Zemeckis' best movies. It's a great movie. One of the year's best movies by a long shot. It's really a fantastic film. I can't recommend this one enough. If you have not seen Castaway, definitely see Castaway. It's worth it. Let's move on to our next movie, and that is Nicolas Cage in The Family Man. So this is a movie that kind of mixes together two classic Christmas stories. You've got A Christmas Carol with Jack Campbell, kind of being not quite on the same level as Ebenezer Scrooge, but he definitely has a lot of those elements. But the main takeaway is, of course, It's a Wonderful Life. In fact, it's described as a modern-day Frank Capra story. You've got Nicolas Cage as a successful and talented businessman. He's happily living his single life. He's got everything he wants, or so he thinks. One day he wakes up in a new life where he didn't have to leave his college girlfriend, played by Taya Leone, for a London trip. He's married to Kate. He lives in New Jersey and has 2 kids. He, of course, desperately wants to get his life back, for which he had worked 13 years to do. He's president of P.K. Lassiter's investment house and not a tire salesman at Big Ed's. He drives a Ferrari and not a minivan that never starts. And more importantly, he doesn't wake up in the morning with kids jumping on his bed. After a bad start, day by day, he's confident in his new life and starts to see what he's been missing. Turns out money's good to have, but that's not everything. And as you can tell, I'm reading that plot from the IMDb page. But I digress. Directed by Brett Ratner. I mean, this is a movie that you do not expect a guy like Brett Ratner to direct. I mean, he's mostly known for directing more action comedies. I mean, Money Talks, Rush Hour. I mean, Rush Hour 2 was coming out the following summer. It's a very different film for him to take on. And it's a really good movie. It's a movie that really... Like, it's a really good film that really keeps you on the edge of your seat of how this is going to end, because it's just like, I mean, you want to see Nicolas Cage and Téa Leoni get together at the end. Like, you can tell they have a good chemistry with one another, and the movie does a really good job of making you believe that. Like it really does make you think about where this is going to go from here, how is this going to end, and it ends on a really good note. Like, yeah, it does fall into rom-com cliches. They got to go to the airport at the end. Like, he's got to go to the airport to see his wife, his wife that he would have had, Téa Leoni, and it goes into rom-com cliches. But I like that it doesn't straight up get them back together at the end, because, you know, what he was that other life, as Don Cheadle's character says, it's a glimpse. It's not a thing that's actually supposed to happen, but. You can tell that they wanted to try to do something unique and different, and maybe give him a positive ending to this that's not directly a happily ever after. And I like the way that they handled it here. I like the way that they handled it in the long run. I thought they did a pretty good job of handling that. And for Brett Ratner, like I said, you don't expect a movie like this to come from the guy that gave us Rush Hour movies. I mean, it's just something that you don't expect. It's interesting because I think more people remember this movie, not because of the movie itself, but because of this.
That's my piece.
You want this cake?
I want it.
You want this cake?
I want it.
You want this cake?
I want it.
You want
that cake?
Yeah, that remake of You Want This Cake. By the way, Harry Partridge, one of the best animators on YouTube. If you haven't seen his work, go see his work. But it's a funny bit there. But I think that right there is why this movie has any kind of legacy to it, or at least had it for a little bit. But it has slowly but surely been gaining a following over the years, which I'm glad to see, because it's a very underrated film. It's a very solid film. Nicolas Cage is great in the film, so is Téa Leoni. Don Cheadle's really good in the film, too. It's a really good, well-made film, and I recommend it. It's a very solid film. If you didn't get to watch it this Christmas, definitely check it out again next Christmas. But with that said, let us move on to our last movie, and that is Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality. I love this movie, man. If I had to pick maybe the best Sandra Bullock comedy ever, this would probably be my pick, and it's really hard to believe that. But you have Sandra Bullock playing this tomboy agent who's asked by the FBI to go undercover as a contestant in a Miss United States pageant when a terrorist threatens to bomb it. And you have to see Michael Caine there. You see Benjamin Bratt, Candice Bergen, William Shatner, Ernie Hudson's in this movie as well. It's a really funny movie. It's a really good film, and it works because Sandra Bullock really commands the screen. I mean, she's not only gorgeous to look at in the movie, but she also gets a lot of really good funny moments in there. I mean, she's really funny in this. The cast overall is just great. Just a ton of really funny moments in general. It's very much a rom-com in every way you think of. But this is one of those ones where the cliches do work to the film's advantage. I think they do a very good job of handling that. And you know, there's just so many elements to it that you just really like about it. I mean, this movie has so many great moments about this film. Like, I've always been wondering what really keeps me going back to this movie every once in a while. Could it be Sandra Bullock? Yeah. Could it be the comedy? Yeah, as well. But along with those things, one thing in particular keeps me coming back to this movie, and it's this goddamn song by Basson, "One in a Million." I don't know what is the deal with that song, but let me tell you something. That song is so damn good and so catchy, and it's just like, whenever I hear that song, it's just like, I can't help but start singing along to it. And even in the movie, it's done pretty cool, too. I mean, that's some pretty damn good choreography in that song. Something about that song, just like, I don't know what it is. It's very hypnotizing. It's just like, it's a song that, I mean, it's a really catchy song, and every time I hear it, it's just like, I can't help but start singing along to it. I mean, it's just a really great song overall, and it's just like, it's just something that really it's just so catchy, and you just can't help but get invested in it. And yeah, the movie is it's definitely not one of the best comedies out there, but it's definitely one of my favorite Sandra Bullock comedies. It's the one I always go back to. It's just like every time it's on, it's just like, if there's nothing else on, I'll turn it on. But it's one of those ones that I always go back to. Like this to me is Bullock at her best. It's really a fantastic film. I laugh a lot on this movie. I know a lot of people probably don't get a lot of laughs from it, but it's one that I always go back to. It's really funny stuff. It's well made. It's a very funny film. Has a lot of things about it that are just so catchy to it. Miss Congeniality. I love this movie. So with that said, we'll wrap up this edition of Time About the Movies, but the next time we meet, we'll take a look at the last film of 2000 that was notable that came out, Steven Soderbergh's Traffic, and then the next week, because there's no new releases, we'll use that as my 2000s leftover show, and I'll tell you more about the movies I'm going to talk about on there next time, but Traffic will be the one we'll talk about next on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.